Hello, everybody, and welcome to our fourth episode of The Book, our weekly show that we have here at Cordero Católico, in which we're reading through the Bible together and just commenting on it and, sharing our thoughts and stuff. I mean, I'll be the one reading and I'll be the one expressing what comes in my mind as we read it and reread it. But as you can see here, there's a chat screen, so everybody that is here live, just feel free to share your thoughts, your questions. I usually put here a prompt just to kind of get the conversation going. In this case, I put, what animal would I not take into the ark if I could choose? I'm sorry, I'm not better at coming up with intriguing questions, but that's why you don't have to really listen to that question. It's just a way to get thinking. But just share whatever you think, any questions, any comments, any way of interpreting what you see, or think, or debating with, or not even debating, but just thoughts on what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing it. Because at the end of the day, I have no expertise in any of this. I'm just reading it, and this is something I want to do, like read the Bible and understand it a little bit better. So I want to do it with you guys. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's the same thing for you. Share in the comments what you think, and just let us know how you see things and how you view these chapters, which we're doing chapters 7 to 9 in Genesis, and what you think of what I'm saying or what other people in the chat are saying. And I wanted to clarify something I was mentioning earlier. I'll be a little bit briefer now because I've already mentioned to the people that are here live. But basically in the previous episode, right, when we were talking about the Nephilims, right, there's the interpretation from the footnotes of it being like angels of God that have fallen, like will be the demons, and then the mixing of that into the world and kind of between humans and the divine and even the fallen divine. But there's also an interpretation that I've come across from other Catholics that is basically the idea that the descendants of the Nephilim, what is considered as the sons of God, will be those of the line of Seth, those that didn't sin against God. I mean, even though there's still the corruption that happens, but kind of to make a division between those of the line of Seth that are close to God and that please God, and those are the line of Cain, which rebel against God, and those will be the sons of men, or the daughters of human beings, as is represented there. And that mixing still of the sons of God, those that are righteous and those that are not, like just as in this way of speaking of the Genesis, but just basically to express that as the genealogies continue and as the human race continues to develop, even there continues to be a mixing between those that are righteous and those that are not. That's kind of independent. Or not correlated that strongly. It's not like the righteous people get together with the righteous people, and the people that are not righteous just go their own way, and then there's this dichotomy of human beings, the good and the bad. It's not that. It's kind of to show that even though there are those that follow God and those that decide to follow God, there are others that don't, and they still kind of fall in love with each other and they have children together, and that's what makes the human race such a melting pot in that respect. So I wanted to kind of give that perspective too, because I thought it was a really good, and I actually like that interpretation a lot, because it resolved a lot of those things, those questions, and those contradictions, I guess, in the sense that I came to in the last episode that I didn't really know how to resolve. And there's still many that I still don't get, but that's the beauty, again, as we talked about in the previous episode, of how if you challenge your knowledge through faith instead of doubt, you come to a more cohesive understanding of the world, because you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but that doesn't make me drive away from what I know to have helped me in my life, and that is backed by the lives of the saints and by the lives of the apostles and the testimony that they gave. It's like you just look at it and you're like, wait, what am I missing? You know what I'm saying? What is it that I'm not seeing? And then you come to conclusions like this, in which is like, okay, at the moment it didn't really make sense, and then by knowing a little bit more, which is not that much more, it's not like I've read a whole essay about it, but now I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Now I'm starting to see it a little bit more and see how Genesis is written and in what context and what type of book it is. It's not like reading Chronicles, it's not like reading Kings, or it's not like reading the Gospels. It's a book that was written a certain way, and that it comes from a different tradition, and it's just a part of our culture and part of the divine truth, but it has to be read within the context of how it was written, which I continue to learn to do. And that preamble out of the way, we get on to Genesis chapters 7 through 9, which is what we're going to read through. It's basically, as we saw previously, let's just give a little bit of a recap, right? There was this command from God. They told Noah, just build an ark and put 2 of each animal. I mean, there's kind of those 2 that we saw from different traditions of the story. It will be the ones that says, 2 of each kind, and then the one that says 7 for the pure animals of of the pure. Hey, how's it going, little cheesy? And of the pure animals, and then 2 from the other ones. But whatever the case, again, as we go back to what we were saying earlier, things have to be seen within. It's like, what do they really mean, and what is the essence of what they're saying? Not as much the details, because this is not a historical chronicle. And so basically we're putting all the animals in the ark, and now we're going to Genesis 7, which we'll see. Again, I guess it goes into it again about the different animals. Now, I guess here is where I was saying that it is mentioned in the footnotes of like now it expressed in a different way. Instead of being a pair of each animal, is 7 pairs of the clean animals and 1 pair of the unclean animals, right? And then we see the great flood that is going to come, and then we're going to see... I guess coming out of that moment, I think it's also there. Yeah, and then the covenant that God makes with Noah, and I guess some accidents that happen along the way with Noah and his sons. And then we get to Genesis 10, which we'll leave for the next episode. All right, now that being said, let's get started. First, we're going to read through the whole thing, and then we're going to re-examine it just to not be cutting, as we go through the narrative. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy it. I don't like all of his sons. You don't like all of them? Yeah, I mean, so it happens a lot in these Bible stories in which there's always one that just kind of gets out of hand. And we'll see which one it is this time. But yeah, it tends to be like there's 3 characters, and then there's one, and then there's the first one that then kind of get this short, and we'll see. But it's interesting because that's what happened with Abel, Cain, and then Seth. So we'll see what happens here with Noah's sons. All right. Genesis 7. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for you alone in this generation have I found to be righteous before me. Of every clean animal, take with you 7 pairs, a male and its mate. And of the unclean animals, 1 pair, a male and its mate. Likewise, of every bird in the air, 7 pairs, a male and a female, to keep their progeny alive over all the earth. For 7 days from now I will bring rain down on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. And so I will wipe out from the face of the earth every being that I have made." Noah complied, just as the Lord had commanded. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came upon the earth. Together with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, Noah went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of the clean animals and the unclean, of the birds, and of everything that crawls on the ground, 2 by 2, male and female, came to Noah into the ark, just as God had commanded him. When the 7 days were over, the waters of the flood came upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 7th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great abyss burst forth, and the floodgates of the sky were opened. For 40 days and 40 nights, heavy rain poured down on the earth. On the very same day, Noah and his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of Noah's sons had entered the ark, together with every kind of wild animal, every kind of tame animal, every kind of crawling thing that crawls on the earth, and every kind of bird. Pairs of all creatures in which there was the breath of life came to Noah into the ark. Those that entered were male and female. Of all creatures they came, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. The flood continued upon the earth for 40 days. As the waters increased, they lifted the ark so that it rose above the earth. The waters swelled and increased greatly on the earth, but the ark floated on the surface of the waters. Higher and higher on the earth where the waters swelled, until all the highest mountains under the heavens were submerged. The waters swelled 15 cubits higher than the submerged mountains. All creatures that moved on earth perished. Birds, tame animals, wild animals, and all that teemed on the earth, as well as all humankind. Everything on dry land with the breath of life in its nostrils died. The Lord wiped out every being on earth, human beings and animals, the crawling things and the birds of the air. All were wiped out from the earth. Only Noah and those with him in the ark were left. When the waters had swelled on the earth for 150 days, God remembered Noah and all the animals, wild and tame, that were with him in the ark. So God made a wind sweep over the earth, and the waters began to subside. The fountains of the abyss and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the downpour from the sky was held back. Gradually, the waters receded from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters had so diminished that, in the 7th month, on the 7th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to diminish until the 10th month, and on the 1st day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains appeared. At the end of the 40 days, Noah opened the hatch of the ark that he had made, and he released a raven. It flew back and forth until the waters dried off from the earth. Then he released a dove to see if the waters had lessened on the earth. Hey, how's it going, Anemone? Yeah, it is live, we're live. But the dove could find no place to perch, and it returned to him in the ark, for there was water all over the earth. Putting out his hand, he caught the dove and drew it back to him inside the ark. He waited yet 7 days more, and again released the dove from the ark. In the evening, the dove came back to him, and there in its bill was a plucked off olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had diminished on the earth. He waited yet another 7 days, and then released the dove, but this time it did not come back. Hey, what's up, Anemone? Why are you not super well? What's going on? Let us know. We're getting through here, Genesis. I hope that helps you kind of, get your mind of it. But, share whatever you feel like sharing. Here, I'm gonna continue reading here as we get to the end of chapter 8 and then into chapter 9. But I'll definitely address whatever it is that you want to share. So now the dove, has now returned after bringing back an olive branch. So basically, the waters have subsided enough that this land. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st day of the month, the water began to dry up on the earth. Noah then removed the covering of the ark, and saw that the surface of the ground had dried. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Go out of the ark together with your wife and your sons wives. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you, all creatures, be they birds or animals or crawling things that crawl on the earth, and let them abound on the earth, and be fertile and multiply on it." So Noah came out, together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, and all the animals, all the birds, and all the crawling creatures that crawl on the earth went out of the ark by families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and choosing from every clean animal and every clean bird, he offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the sweet odor, the Lord said to himself, "Never again will I curse the ground because of human beings, since the desires of the human heart are evil from youth. Nor will I ever again strike down every living being as I have done. All the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night, shall not cease." God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fertile and multiply and fill the earth. Fear and dread of you shall come upon all the animals of the earth and all the birds of the air, upon all the creatures that move about on the ground, and all the fishes of the sea. Into your power they are delivered. Any living creature that moves about shall be yours to eat. I give them all to you as I did the green plants. Only meat with its lifeblood still in it you shall not eat. Indeed, for your own lifeblood I will demand an accounting. From every animal I will demand it. From every human being, each one for the blood of another, I will demand an accounting for human life. Anyone who sheds the blood of a human being, by a human being shall that one's blood be shed. For in the image of God have human beings been made. Be fertile, then, and multiply, abound on earth and subdue it. God said to Noah and to his sons with him, See, I am now establishing my covenant with you and your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the tame animals, and all the wild animals that were with you, all that came out of the ark. I will establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all creatures be destroyed by the waters of a flood. There shall not be another flood to devastate the earth. God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I am making between me and you, and every living creature with you for all ages to come. I set my bow in the clouds to serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you, and every living creature, every mortal being, so that the waters will never again become a flood to destroy every mortal being. When the bow appears in the clouds, I will see covenant between God and every living creature. I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature, every mortal being that is on earth. God told Noah, This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and every mortal being that is on earth. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from them the whole earth was populated. Noah, a man of the soil, was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank some of the wine, became drunk, and lay naked inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness, and he told his two brothers outside. Shem and Japheth, however, took a robe, and holding it on their shoulders, they walked backward and covered their father's nakedness. Since their faces were turned the other way, they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke up from his wine and learned what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, and the God of Shem. Let Canaan be his slave. May God expand Japheth, and may he dwell among the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. Noah lived 350 years after the flood. The whole lifetime of Noah was 950 years. Then he died. Nice. So yeah, we got a pretty good arc here. And we got a lot to talk about. But first, let me see. Animal says, years old problem just because major mistake and didn't realize something was off on same night. Huh. Okay. I mean, I don't know exactly like how much you want to share in terms of context and stuff, but I see. So it's a problem that you've been dealing with for a while. And I don't know if you mean like tonight as the same night you realized something until like you didn't realize something until tonight, or you mean like is it just you're now realizing that it was a major mistake or something like that? Because it's like you're saying years old problem, but again I don't want to. I highly doubt it can be solved in a few days. Yeah, of course. I mean, things take time to solve, especially if they're complicated and stuff. And but yeah, just know that because I've dealt with some problems. I mean, again, you never know what the scale of things are, so I don't know what you're dealing with. But what has helped me with problems of different scale and magnitude and through my life is just to trust the Lord. I mean, I don't know if you believe in Christ or in God, but to whatever extent you believe and to whatever you believe, just rely on that as a way, not as much as a way to solve the problem, because the problem needs to be solved. You are within the world and you need to solve problems with the help of other people and such, but it's the peace that you need, you know what I'm saying? And the peace that comes from God. I'm from knowing that God is with you, you know what I'm saying? That at the end of the day, there's nothing to be anxious about, because you're saved. Whether you believe it or not. I mean, and again, I cannot really express it in any other way. Like I'm respectful to whatever you believe, but at the end of the day, God takes care of you to whatever capacity that you let Him. So it's there's really nothing to worry about. It's things that you gotta solve. I got my own things that I gotta solve in my own life, and there's tribulations and challenges and stuff. Some other people here in the community are dealing with their own challenges as well, and they can attest to that. But yeah, just what will help you overcome those challenges is to remember that you're not alone, that God is always with you, and He's helping you, and then reaching out to Him will help you with that. Any help and peace from God Himself and Jesus and archangels, so bad it is. Yeah, I mean, it never, we all need that, whatever situation we are. So, don't feel bad. We all need that level of peace. Yeah, we've all made mistakes. Chiso here. And yeah, I've also made very, very big mistakes in my life. And at times I also felt like, how am I going to get out of here? But yeah, just keep, praying is always the best advice. Just pray to God, express unto Christ, and and to intercession of the saints, and to the intercession of archangels and angels, like any who that you feel closest to in heaven, what I'm saying. Pray to them, pray for them to intercede for you, if they're not God Himself or Christ, which is the same, or the Holy Spirit, or pray directly to the Holy Trinity, and and ask them to help you out, and then just act as if your prayer has already been answered. I'm praying, nothing comes out because it's so bad. Well, but again, you can the point of prayer is not like it's not like a switch, you don't pray and then things just get fixed. It's more like you pray for companionship, the same way you might talk to me, or you might talk to somebody else, right? And you tell them your problem. I mean, again, you kind of tell me because I don't know it all, and then you might feel like you don't know me in that sense, right? So it makes sense. You might share some parts, but not others. But to God, the whole thing is that you're sharing things, and you're talking to somebody that already knows you better than you do. And then on top of that is the architect of it all. And then He'll figure things out, what is best for you and stuff, and when things should be resolved. Because sometimes we think that we need things that we don't actually need, or we think we need them now, and then it's not now. So the main thing is just to have that conversation, because there's nobody that understands you like God, not even yourself. There's nobody that understands you like Christ. So just open that conversation, and then again, He will give you, He will answer your prayers. It's just like it doesn't look like what you think, because you don't know enough about the world, about your circumstance, about what is best for you down the line. You know what I'm saying? Like, thinking like God is something that we can never do, but we can strive to when we pray. And by just having that conversation, it helps you get in that perspective of God. But even if you don't really get there, because sometimes it's hard in prayer to get to that point, just know that God knows and best, and that He will answer in the best way at the right time. It just, sometimes, I mean, that's really hard. That's the hardest part for me too. It's like trusting the Lord and letting Him do, and not trying to get ahead of it, not trying to think things in my own time, because that's when you move away from God, and you're like, no, things are not working. I'm not getting what I want, and I'm praying for it. Therefore, God is not answering. Instead of thinking the way God answers is better for me, I just gotta trust in that. But yeah, it takes time. Do you stop to listen after you pray? God has His own time. And yes, even I felt something was off again. Surely the devil whispers, so he wants you to doubt God. Yeah, exactly. Just yeah, don't look for results, when you pray. Just look for a connection, look for a way to be closer to God. And then the results will come, but it might not be what you're expecting, but it will be the best for you. You just got to wait in the Lord and not, move away from it. Speaking of that, this is a good, segue into the whole thing with the flood, right? Which is what we're seeing here today. which is that, God tells Noah, and there's a thing here that says Noah complied just as the Lord had commanded. So it's even this, right? The fact that, if you think about it, well, we think about it from the perspective of Noah with this whole thing, right? It's like, he's living there with his family and stuff, and I'm sure, the world wasn't in a great state at that point, so there was a lot of things to worry about and dangers. But then God tells him to just start building an ark, and not only that, then he puts him in that ark for, what it says, like 40 days, but it's like, it's just like a long time, and they're there just in the middle of a storm as the whole world is just getting destroyed. And, he's related also to some of the people that are dying because they come from the same line as him, from the line of Adam. So he must have not have felt very good. And I'm sure he was praying to find land, and I'm sure he was praying for different things. And he must have also felt like, God is not answering, or things are not getting fixed. When are we going to find land, things like that. But, you just got to do what Noah does and what many other characters in the Bible do, which is to listen to God and do what God commands. Which, we're so lucky in this day and age because we have the Gospels and we have the tradition of the Bible. Like, we have all these resources and the lives of the saints to look at, to remember what God tells us that we got to do. So if you focus on doing God's will and figuring out what is God's will for my life, then the problems start to resolve themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't think as much, at least that's what helps me, of what are my issues? What is the flood in my life? How do I stop the flood? I have a flood in my life. Everything is getting flooded. Like, I have all this issue. I'm going to drown, right? So how do I solve that? How do I stop the flood? Or don't think of that. Think of, what does God want me to do in this flood? What does God want me to do? And then when you focus on that, when you work on the positive, on the creative side of things, then everything else, the flood comes and goes away, because the flood has a bigger purpose that you might not know, for you, for the people around you, and for the world itself. And you just got to get through it. And to get through it, you just got to trust in the Lord and do what he told you to do, and then you'll be fine. And as long as you focus on that, that will also drive your mind away from the problems, because, when you think about a problem a lot, and if those things that are in your control, then you solve them. But you'll know those things are in your control because there's something that you can adjust. If it's something that is not in your control, that's a flood. You know what I'm saying? It's something that is just coming upon you and it's surrounding you, and there's nothing you can do about it but find refuge in an ark that rises above the flood. So as long as you keep that in mind and you do that, you build the ark, you build what the Lord commanded you to do, which is basically a stable life, a life following the commandments of God, a life of study and relationship with Christ and with God, then the flood comes and the flood goes. And the focus of you shouldn't be as much on the flood and how to subside it, or asking God to subside. I mean, do it. Like, have that conversation. Tell God, isn't it enough rain by now? Do whatever. But remember that the flood will end when it needs to end. And what you got to focus on is building the ark, putting the animals in, and doing what God told you. And that's what will help you survive the storm. I felt something pinched on my neck after praise. Oh, wow. Okay, well. Always I feel something when God answers. Think about St. Teresa of Calcutta and the dark night of the soul. Yeah. And then, it's also like, again, even if it's that, right, like you're now concerned, right, with the devil messing with you. Like, even that, you know what I'm saying? Just, so what? So the devil is messing with you. Like, I don't mean to dismiss it. I just mean, like, don't let him have strength over you. If it is the devil that is getting to you, then so what? Just let him pinch you and just tell him to fuck off. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I shouldn't curse, but like, just don't have any respect for the devil like that. You know what I'm saying? He's going to come, he's going to go. He's like the flood, He's there. He does his thing. God has him there for our freedom and for us to be tested. And he's the accuser. But don't let him get over, Hey, how's it going, Danish Julius? Should I go? Danish Julius. I'll go to Julius. Greetings as well, my gentleman. And here we're talking, we just read through Genesis 7 through 9 about the flood that comes and goes. And then also we're talking here to Anemone, who's having some challenges, some floods of his own, His life is a bit of in a storm. So we were talking about how to face that from what I think is the best approach, which is just, instead of focusing on the flood, you focus on the ark. Another Danish nationalist. Oh, is it because he said hey with a J? You guys have your own little scaffolds. I don't even know what that. The fact that you guys just recognize each other on the basis of the spelling is funny. I think that's right? I don't even know what a Danish nationalist. The only thing I know about Danish is that they're delicious, I love a Danish, you know what I'm saying? That's all I know. Oh, the other thing I know about Denmark is Hamlet, you know? Something's rotten in Denmark or something. How's it going? ¿Cómo estamos, Carleone? You're my boy Corleone, he's from Argentina. Bendiciones a ti también. Estamos leyendo aquí el Génesis del 7 al 9. Ahora acaba de pasar la inundación. Y estamos aquí hablando un poco también. We're also talking, sorry guys, I'll switch up a little bit, but we're also talking here with Animo, who's dealing with his own floods here. And and just viewing, actually, it comes in terms with what we're talking about, of like, you know, God wants us to do his will. So in the midst of all the storms that come, and even you'll see, right, like Noah doesn't even get away from trouble even at the end of it all, right? Because then his own sons, and then there's like, I was hearing too some interpretations of this, of how when they talk about like his son saw his nakedness, and here it is, how wild it is. Like there's some interpretations that look at that as if Ham slept with Noah's wife, like Ham slept with his mother, which is kind of like an act of dominion over your father. And I mean, that's the worst thing you can do to your father and to your mother. And it's kind of like that nakedness. I mean, I think that's a pretty wild thing. I mean, it could be because, you know, it's like he's thinking of the worst sin. But even leaving that aside, even if it's just seeing the nakedness, it's like the idea of disrespecting your father when he's in a moment of weakness. Like, you know, it's like Noah has done all this work. That's the way I see it, kind of. It's kind of like he's done all this work. He's overcome the flood, like the worst thing that's ever happened to the world and to him. He's done all this work for his family. He's put them there. He's gone to the other end. And now he finally relaxes a little bit. He plants a little bit of grapes, and then he makes some wine. And then he gets a little bit too drunk. Like, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have gone so drunk, but he gets a little bit too drunk. But in that moment of weakness, his own son Ham takes advantage of that. And it's like, that's also the thing. It's like, it doesn't, the challenges don't go away even when you're doing the Lord's will. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be people that are corrupted, and you know, and you are yourself, but you know, people play a role in different parts of your life, and they will take advantage of that weakness. And you know, even if they don't do it on purpose, or they're not doing it with bad intent, we don't know ever really. That's for God to judge. But you know, that you gotta face that too. That it's like, it's not like you doing the will of God will just save you from every problem, like prosperity gospel or something like that. It's more like you will have somebody that will guide you through it, and you will have somebody that tells you when to build the ark, how you build the ark, and then you just gotta learn to just be better. Thank you for the follow, Dennis. Sorry, let me address some of the other messages. I appreciate it very much. Welcome to the channel, you know, and this is our 4th episode here of the book. We have here Chiso. He said, we focus on doing your best. I mean, grateful for the things and opportunities you have. Exactly. Yeah, just focus on the creative part. Focus on what God would do. God always brings new life. That's what I see in life. You know what I'm saying? People are like, how does God allow all this violence and all this sin? It's like, well, he allows it because he's allowing us, you know, he's letting us do it. Now it's like when you're not doing it and it's another human being, it seems like God should intervene. But then if you really think about it and you look at your own life, like there's a lot of sin in your own life. So should God also smite you and end you? No, right? I mean, in the sense of God chooses not to, and chooses to let things play out, right? But what God does do is bring new life. It's like whoever surrenders and comes to repentance and asks for new life and asks for forgiveness is given the ability to start again. And not only that, there's new babies being born, there's new life being born within different communities, conversions. It's like, it's the creative aspect. That's how God acts. He lets people do wrong so that they can have the chance to then turn around and do well, and so that they have that freedom. But he doesn't stop there. He uses any crevice, any opening to create new things and to create better things. So you can act like God in that sense, because you are a son of God by adoption, and do the same thing with your life. Something bad happens to you, something that you maybe did yourself that was bad, something that somebody else, because it doesn't have to be like, because that's the hardest thing, when somebody else is doing the wrong. That's when it's like, why me? You know what I'm saying? I'm not even doing anything bad. It's not even like my mistake. It's like, but now I gotta suffer because somebody did a wrong to me, right? Well, then take that, instead of focusing on that wrong that was done to you or that you did, focus on what is the good thing that I can do today. What is the creative aspect that I can do? What crevice can I find to create? Oh, here, Dane is actually addressing the topic. What animal would I not take today? Can I answer? I will bring them all. Yeah, of course you can. I mean, this was a kind of not very good question. I just didn't. I had to set up this whole thing. I couldn't come up with a good question. If you have a better question, anybody here that I should put to share here for the people that will be watching this on YouTube to answer in the comments, or for you guys, let me know, or any comment that is better. Because I am aware that this is not the best question, but I just thought it would be a funny one. I couldn't come up with anything better. This is just to kind of spark conversation, but you guys are already doing great. Okay, here, Animal. I'm trying, but it often try and kick me away of any possibility and and way more. What do you mean? I'm trying to understand. Like trying kicks you off any possibility? I mean, first of all, there's always possibility. So there's no way it kicks you off from any possibility. There's always something you can do. I mean, even the fact that you're here sharing this with us is already a great thing. Same with me, Danish. If God tells me, I do my best to listen. Sometimes you need to reframe your thinking about new habits. Yeah, I agree with Chisa there. I've come a long way from a dark place myself. Yeah, myself too. You know, that's why I'm saying, like, you know, pray and trust in that prayer and then stay, you know, wait in the Lord. That's the main thing that we as humans many times don't know how to do, which is what Noah learns to do in the flood. When he's in the flood and when he's building the ark, is just to wait in the Lord. Do as the Lord commands and wait in the Lord and trust. I mean, what makes an animal not worthy of living? No, of course. I mean, that's why it's like the question itself is more of like a playful way of thinking of what animals I don't like. But obviously, if we're really answering the question, we gotta do as God says, because it's always the best, you know. But I would also take all the animals. Okay, sorry about the damn question. I knew it wasn't the strongest question to bring, but I just thought it would be like a great people would think of like, oh, what animals I don't like. But you guys are smarter than me and also like more righteous. I mean, not even righteous, but I just mean like you guys got the right answer, which is you don't leave any animal out unless God tells you. Because even the snakes were there, right? I was very valuable at night. My phone is weird now. It was that was very valuable at night. You mean whatever we're talking about? My phone is weird now. Watching Twitch on phone. Yeah, it must be a little bit harder to see it on the phone, but yeah. I want the snakes. Frick the snakes, right? right, exactly. It's like we got children, they would choose the snake. I mean, I actually do like snakes. You know what I'm saying? Like how they, you know, as an animal, I think they're kind of cool. It's not like they're my favorite animal or anything like that, but I do think that they're pretty. You know, they get bad rep, and I get it because of the Bible and stuff, and they're venomous, and you know they can kill you. Many of them, but you know the ones that are like coral or something like that, maggots, oof, yeah. Now we're getting to something that I would maybe not put maggots in there, but okay, yeah. Take care, animal, and you remember, just pray and wait in the Lord. You know, whatever it is that you're going through, just be patient. You know, it will get better. How quickly would you take a shower after the flood subsides? Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just. I feel like I would be pretty clean because all I had to do was go on top of the ark. I mean, I guess maybe they never. No, it was probably pretty heavy rain. Maybe they never got out of even outside. Because I was thinking just getting the rain for a little shower, but also it probably had like some type of God system. God aften anemone. God aften, is that like some Danish thing, like way of saying God aften? I mean, the smell and the array, 40 days with all the animals. No, I mean, for sure. I mean, that's what I would do, just jump in a river or something. You know, you got a little slant and all. Everything must be so fresh. Like, you know how it feels after a rainy day? And then it's like the air is just so fresh and clear. And you can just breathe the cleanness. Imagine that, like the biggest rain for 40 days. And then you get back on the earth after, I guess, yeah, I mean, that sounds like kind of bad, but that's kind of what happened. Like the whole earth was cleaned from all the corruption and all the bad things. So now suddenly you have all this virgin earth again, and it's like all beautifully just fresh. So it must have felt pretty good to get out of that ark. It's a good afternoon. Well, like now, oh, I got you. Good afternoon. Oh, like I said, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I mean, I'm making it sound like it's German or something. I don't even know what a Danish accent sounds like. But yeah, other things that I found interesting here with what we were reading is well, like the boat thing, I really like, you know what I'm saying? When it's like talking, and I think it's beautiful too how they use that image to talk about how this covenant of God with Noah after the flood, that it's like the rainbow is kind of God putting down his bow and being like, I'm not gonna fly it. So it's kind of like a way to, and it's a beautiful image, I think, because it's kind of like God now it rains and it starts to get out of hand, and he looks at the rainbow. He's like, okay, never mind. I said I'm not gonna have another flood. So I think that's very nice. I mean, obviously things are, again, written from the point of the Genesis. It's not like God actually needs a rainbow to remember not to make a flood. Yeah, but yeah, I think that helps us kind of see things from like this point of view, that it's like God doesn't want to do these things, doesn't want to have to clean up. Like that's also when it's like people talk about like, oh, like God does this, or what, death, right, for example, which is the main thing. It's like, why does God allow for somebody to die or somebody to suffer? All these things are the consequence of our sins and the consequence of our wrongs, that they're just brought to the ultimate end. It's kind of, if you've corrupted something to the point that it just continues to corrupt, you gotta cut it at some point, because it doesn't have, at some point there's nothing that you can do about it. It's like And then I think that that's where the wisdom of God is, that we don't see it. It's like it gets to a point in the life of a human being, or in, in the world and things like that, in which things, God knows that they're not going to get anywhere else. Like, they're not going to get better in that sense. There's no possibility of it getting better. And that's at the end. That's when it ends, you know what I'm saying? And if you had a good life and your death comes, it's basically, it comes, you know what I'm saying? Good life or bad life, but we all have our things. But that, I think that moment of death, that moment of the end, is that moment in which, even though you might not know, or when you look at it, when your grandmother died, or when somebody got hit by a car, you don't know that that's kind of where their life actually was meant to end, in that sense. It's kind of like, but then it's also, there's also why I assume in that whole aspect is the freedom of other people to take your life from you, which will go against the will of God, but it is within the will of God, because God allows you to have the freedom to take other person's lives. So I guess that's the other thing to juggle. But leaving that aside and putting things into, the people that died of natural causes, or people that died from disasters or whatever, which also, if a natural disaster could also be considered maybe a reflection of our own corruption. So it's like, it all gets complicated. That's why it's hard as a human being to judge. But what I'm trying to get to, the point that I'm trying to make, is kind of the fact that whenever it comes, and however it is, if God allows it, it's because it's good in that sense. It has an ultimate good, either by allowing the freedom of another human being to be able to fall into sin and take away your life, or the allowance of the world to develop the way it does. But that at the end of the day, things have to develop and things have an end, and that end is not bad in and of itself. And that the evil that plays out in the world somehow has to be cleaned. So there has to be a flood, or whatever, the equivalent is, in which things are cleaned of the corruption that we create. That's kind of what I see here. Are you like a father or something? No, yeah. I guess because you just got to the channel. I'm just a kid who happens to be Catholic. You know what I'm saying? I have been building a relationship with Christ and with the religion, the Catholic religion, for a while now, since my conversion. Like, I was brought up Catholic, and then I moved away from the faith, and then I came back to it, like, just by surrendering my life. In the sense, like, I just got to a point in which I had messed up a lot, and then I didn't know how to figure it out. And I was just like at the verge, I guess what you could call suicide. Although I never really had the thought of, like, I'm actually gonna kill myself, but I did feel like that, of like everything is it's very bad. So, and then I surrendered my life to Christ. I was like, take care of everything. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to figure it out. And then little by little, He's been guiding me, and inadvertently, so it's not like He told me, with a big voice, how to do it, but just kind of by just learning to surrender and to just be like, okay, whatever, it's like, it's better to just not worry about the next day, in that sense, and learning to just do the will of God. So I've just been developing that relationship of trying to figure out what the will of God is. So basically, but to give you a little bit more context of what the channel is, right? So Cordero Católico, which is basically means Catholic lamb, which is basically because I see the image of the lamb as very important and a beautiful thing, which is that you just to give your life for other people and stuff. But I'll see you, Chizo. But I have a good question for us to let us know, who's your favorite saint and why. Okay, yeah, I'll address that too. It doesn't really have to do anything with the chapters today, though. No, that's fine. It doesn't have to. It's all like, that's why I like doing these episodes too on Twitch. Is like, I like when people just come in. Oh yeah, we have a Discord channel, a Discord server if you want to join. And but whatever the case, what I'm trying to say is, yeah, so I have these different shows that I do in the evenings, like this one, the book, and then live words. I'll address them at the end of the show to give you a little bit of a schedule. Let me share the Discord. I mean, Chizo, can you take care of sharing the Discord with them, the link to the server? But if you want to join, and there we discuss things and stuff. It's a nice place to have in the community if you want to join. But yeah, and also that way during the days from Monday through Friday, basically I do this development. I'm developing like a prayer app it's called Rosarium. And so praying the rosary, but like in a more gamified way, like a more approachable way, more interactive. And that's what I do normally, right? I used to work in finance. Like I studied engineering and then I transitioned to finance. I was in New York. I'm from Spain. I'm from the south of Spain. I was living in Brooklyn, working in finance. And then, in doing research for investment banking, I was doing pretty well, but just, I didn't find the fulfillment. I didn't feel like I was doing the will of God in that sense. Like, I just felt like, yeah, I'm just going to get richer. I'm going to have money. I'm going to have a good life. But like, for what, I'm saying? The end of the day, my days will come and then I'll be like, what did I do with what I had, right? And so that's where I started this whole turnaround, which now I want to make games and digital experiences for people that have substance, that like make use of these means that we have for something that is closer to God, and not only just to God, but just to closer to good culture, to substantial, with things with substance, you know what I'm saying? So I bought a rosary and we arrived at 60 bits instead of 50. Damn, that's not good. But yeah, I'm glad. So if you do pray the rosary, that's gonna be cool. If you're around tomorrow, I know that my streams for your time zone might actually be fine, to be honest, because you an hour later or something than Spain. I start my streams, like my developing streams, so you can check out the app around. I don't know, 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Spanish time. But I can share here, let me share. This is a landing page that I created for the project. You can check it out there, and it just gives you kind of a general outline of what the app is and what it's trying to do, you know what I'm saying? Because we're actually getting ready to launch it sometime in April, probably around Easter. And at the end of that website, if you want, we'll just crash that as I join this. Yeah, no worries. Oh, okay, you got ads. No worry, we can wait. But yeah, let me know when you're back from ads. But yeah, basically, yeah, and then I'll let you know. But then to the rest of the people that we're here, as we were saying, kind of to address a little bit more of this. Another thing, that I see is interesting in this whole story is the fact that that the image of the raven and the dove, right, and how it's like he sends out this, it's kind of this prayer, as we were talking earlier with Anemon. It's like you send a prayer, you request something from God, you request, okay, when is the land, where is the land, even though God already told him the 40 days, right? So the 40 days have passed, right? But he's still releasing this dove, right? Because God told him that the rain will stop. Oh, okay, awesome. So but then just to finish the point, so then seeing that dove that comes back and forth, and you don't always get the olive branch, you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean that the flood didn't stop. It's just for things to get to your life, it takes time. But yeah, so yeah, that link that I sent here for Rosarium app, right? If you click on it, you can check out the website. It gives you kind of a little bit of a rundown of what I'm trying to make with the app. At the end of it, if you want, you can sign up with your email, so we'll send updates and give early access to the app to people. But whatever, I just wanted to leave that there. You don't have to sign up if you don't want at the end. It just makes it easier for me to know who's interested. But in that way, you can have an idea. And then also, again, if you join us on our normal streams, like the ones that are not in the evening, you can see me developing the app. I'm right now struggling with UX, just basically improving some things with the way the beats are actually positioned in this what I call the gate scene and stuff, which is when you enter the app. But you'll be able to figure it out if you're around the stream. But yeah, what else is there anything that catches your attention from the story? I don't know. I don't know if you got here after we were done reading. But is there something that, like, from what you know about the flood and Noah and such, that you find interesting, Julius? But let me see here. Let's see what else. No, 600, you say, of the clean animals with the unclean birds. Oh, another thing that I found interesting, right, is when they get out of the ark, right? We're with him in the ark, so God made wind sweep, right. And is that when he says, you may now eat of the animals, right? In the same way that I gave you the plants, right? The greens of the earth. So it's interesting that at the beginning there was no like explicit permission or whatever from God to eat animals, right? So I wonder, from this perspective, right, it's kind of like the creation of it all. It's like animals are just there kind of roaming with us. So I guess the disposition of them on the creation were not that of being something for us to feed upon, but just kind of companions of us within creation. And again, I'm not saying, again, because this is all Genesis, this is all within the allegory, so who knows how things kind of developed, like physically, and what it is really the intention. But again, if we look at it from the story perspective of what it is, the word of God in its own context and stuff, it's the idea that the animals, and because he even makes the covenant with the earth, it's like they are companions of ours in the creation. But, we are given that we are above them in the sense, and we have dominion over them. But that doesn't mean that we are to abuse that dominion that we have over them, but more like we are to be stewards of them and to take care of the whole thing. But the fact that they are kind of in this in-between, which they are given, they are part of that kind of care that God has for all of us, it's like, he's not gonna annihilate not only us but the rest of the creatures on the earth. I'm not sure how he got the message. Was it like an epiphany or a dream? Oh yeah, let's go back to that. Actually, I think we saw that in the previous episode. But let's see, make yourself an ark. Let's see what he says. It was corrupt in the view of God. When God saw how corrupt the earth had become, since all mortals had corrupted their ways on earth, God said to Noah. Okay, so he just talked to him directly. I guess back then, what I'm saying, the communication must have been much more direct, because Noah is not that far down from Adam, from Cain and Abel, right? So, and this is still when Noah and like people are going to this, right? Which again, it's all you cannot take it literally, but like people used to live longer, right? They're like 900 years old, right? And then after all of this is when people start to live like more normal days, right? Like instead of like they live like 120 or something like that, which is still pretty wild, but it's not like the 900 years. So it's kind of, I think it's also to show that back then, or in like in our more pure state before things corrupted more and more, we're pretty close to God. So I think it was just like, that's why even just God talking directly. But again, like how to actually interpret these things, or I mean, I have a hard time even seeing, because I don't think most of it, and I mean, I think the scholars also agree with that, which is like to look at this like as a representation of things actually went down is not very useful, and also it wouldn't really make sense because the people writing, it's kind of this story the same way when you read about the Greek gods, right? It's like just the Greek gods is based on a story that's not true, it's not based on the actual God, but it's the same way of writing in the sense of it's just a way of explaining the current world from the perspective of God being one and the chosen people being us, the people of Israel, right? And being descendants from this line. But you got to kind of track it back to this first human that they call Adam, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to mean that the things happen the way, like, it's like, oh, and then this happened, and then in 40 days, right? It's like things are symbolic or allegorical and things like that. That's kind of how it makes sense to me. Well, I mean, I do think you could come with a point that you shouldn't eat animals since it's God's creation, but then wouldn't that also mean we couldn't eat like letters? No, I agree with you. I mean, and again, it's God that says we should be eating. I mean, like we can eat of animals and stuff. I don't think the fact that, like, I don't think the argument here, and I'm not making that argument of like, because animals are, like alongside or companions of ours, that we shouldn't eat them. No, because I think it's, even if they're companions of ours, we make use of them in whatever capacity we think is best. Like, from the cow we can get milk, or we can get meat. From the chicken we can get their meat, or we can get their eggs. From the dog even, you know what I'm saying? Like you can use it as companion, like some cultures do, and other cultures use it as food. And I really don't think there's anything wrong with that. Even in Spain and in other cultures in Europe, you eat horses, right? And it's like, it's also at the same time an animal that you use for work and for companionship and for enjoyment, like for riding or something. And you can also use it for food. So I don't think I just don't even think that the idea of eating an animal makes it diminish in dignity, you know what I'm saying? It's just I just find it interesting that comes as a secondary commandment, in the sense like at the beginning that is not necessary in some sense, it's not even, but it's not even about necessary. It's like, something that would be part of our nature. But again, I don't know what that means, and I also don't think there's much that one would draw from that, in the sense like it doesn't really matter as long as you have a relationship with animals that is respectful and dignified. Like to eat an animal, like to kill an animal, again, it's like the moment the animals are something that are under our dominion, under our stewardship at the end of the day, like we have responsibility over them. The same way God is our steward in that sense, and we die, and we are even the stewards of each other, right? And then we can decide to kill another human being, which should never be done, right? But in that sense, it's like, we are given stewardship over the animals in the same way that I guess God's providence or even ourselves decide when another human being dies. We shouldn't, because we shouldn't be judging on another human being, but we should be judging, or we have the ability to judge on when an animal should die, right? Or could die. So then the fact that we kill the animal doesn't make us love the animal less or dignify the animal less. The same way when God decides that a person dies of natural cause, that doesn't mean that he hates us or holds us in less dignity. It's just a part of life that at some point you die for a more important purpose. Now the difference is that we're in a different realm, right? Because we are divine beings. we are sons of God. So then when we die is for the divine purpose of becoming closer to God and to come to that moment of judgment, that meeting of God, with the consequence that it might have depending on the choices that you've made. But for an animal, the higher purpose can just be to serve as food, right? Because what else is an animal to do, with its life, It's like the idea of like now that it has happened in our day and age, I think, of our culture, of like kind of deifying animals or making them equal to us. I think it's absurd, even from the animal perspective, obviously. Like, the animal is not thinking of none of this. The animal is not thinking about happiness. The animal is not thinking about fulfillment and sacrifice and divinity. The animal is just thinking of eating, sleeping, reproducing, and being in a good state. I'm not saying they don't have any like feelings or any emotions. They do, but they don't have any aspiration other than surviving. Like, they're just there, and then they're not, and there's nothing else to them. So then the fact that they die or they live, even though the process through which is always going to be constrained by the mechanisms by which they survive. So it's like dying is painful to whatever state, like an animal, a plant, a person, right? But that doesn't mean that it's bad in and of itself. Like, that cannot have a purpose. Now, a pointless death is bad because it's pointless, not because it's death. The death itself is just a process, the same way birth is a process that is painful. That's how I would see it. Well, I mean, I'd say everything would be permitted. I personally never eat like sheep, though. You sound like a Saint Paisius right now. I don't know who Saint Paisius is. Maybe we should look him up. If you join the server, you can actually share his story, and we have a channel for saints' lives that we find interesting. And I've learned, for example, about Saint Pantaleon, which I didn't know about, from another user from Portugal, another community member, I guess you can call him, or whatever, Edgar. So if you feel like up for it, you can share with us in the Discord who Saint Paisius is. But yeah, also, by the way, you were asking me earlier, right? And we're getting kind of to the end of the show, so that would be a good segue to the closing segment. But you asked me who's my favorite saint. So I mean, it's favorite, whatever, one that I have a closer relationship with. I mean, the one that I've had a closer relationship, and at the beginning, I don't even know exactly where it came from, but it's Saint Benedict. So Saint Benedict, I found, I don't know at what point I learned about him. I actually have his cross, the cross of Saint Benedict, tatted on my back. It's just, at some point I came across his story of when he's a hermit up there in the mountains, and the brothers that bring him like food and stuff, they try to poison him. And he trusts the Lord, and he just, he's not worried about it. God takes care of takes away the bread that was poisoned and breaks the cup in which they also poison. And when I read that story, and I'm sure there's other stories on the saints that is similar in that sense of when the world tries to take them away, it says the fact that God takes care of you, and it's like if you're serving a purpose and you are worried about doing the will of God and not offending Him, nothing can really hurt you, in the sense like even if other people try to hurt you and they try to kill you, if God wants you to die, like in the sense like it's your time to go, then it's your time to go and will allow it. If God needs you for something and you have a purpose for God, God will allow the freedom of people to try to poison you and to try to kill you, but He will take care of you and will protect you no matter what. So it kind of gave me the sense of like you don't have to be anxious about anything. And then as I discovered more about Saint Benedict and his life, there's many things that I gravitate towards because I need to improve them in my life. Like I have a lot of weakness with discipline and with self-control, and the whole ora et labora, the whole order that Saint Benedict puts in life through the liturgy of the hours, through the scripture, through a habit of working in a godly way, working and praying, ora et labora. That's something that I try to translate into my life. And I felt that influence from the intercession of Saint Benedict in my life. I prayed novenas to him, and I mean, I only done it once. Actually, I had a hard time completing the novena because, again, the discipline thing. But that's, again, I find his way of life something to kind of model my life after, even though I don't want to be a monk or anything like that, but like living like that, living like in a disciplined, orderly way. Take care of order, and order takes care of you, those type of things. So that's why I gravitate towards Saint Benedict. But how about you, Julius? Well, I mean, personally, my own family would probably be Saint Maria. Saint Maria, like the Virgin Mary. I mean, that is the most important of saints and the most, remarkable of them all. She's the first saint. She's saint before Christ. Hey, welcome. Thank you for the follow, real Aiden. Aiden Mac. I'm gonna call you Aiden if that's cool with you. Welcome to the stream. You got here a little bit towards the end. I mean, I don't know if you were here earlier, but yeah, where are you watching from? We're here discussing. We were reading chapters 7 through 9 of Genesis with Noah and such, and the ark. You know, we went through the flood and they got out, and you know we got the dove and stuff. And then we were discussing other things. Danish here, Julius, he was asking me who's one of my saints that I feel closest to, and I said Saint Benedict, because of those moments in which kind of God takes care of him and drives him away from death. I'm from IE. How about yourself? What is IE? IE. Is that Indonesia? No, sorry. I don't know what IE is. I'm sorry. But if you should I mean, what should I go? Is that like, is that an acronym for a country, or what is it? But I'm from Spain. I'm from the south of Spain. I lived in New York for some years, so that's why I have some good English to an extent. But Ireland, oh, okay, gotcha. Ireland is beautiful. I mean, I've never been, but I really wanted to visit. And there's a lot of Irish influence in New York and where I was. I used to go to this pub, Fitzgerald's, in 2nd Avenue, and yeah, I really like the Irish people there. And there's also a close connection to an extent between Spain and Ireland. There's that Spanish poet that said Irish people are Spaniards that got lost in the fog, because the Celts, right, as they're coming down, some of them went into Ireland, but then some of them went into the north of Spain. So he was kind of saying like there was a fog, and then some of them went right, some of the Celts, and some others went to Spain. And my father is actually from the northwest of Spain, and was just the most Celtic of the parts in Spain. And then, you know, our own, you know, people before the Romans were Celtiberians, which is the Celts mixing with the Iberians. So I mean, and there's some, I've heard like about how Irish people are very welcoming, and they like to drink, and they're loud, and that's very similar to how Spaniards are. Like, you know, we're loud, we like to drink, we like to hang out, and it's all, you know, it's not like the same drinking I think, as like people from Northern Europe, which are like, you know, they're like strong drinkers, but like, you know, they deal with life. It's like Spaniards and Irish people, I feel like it's just that way you kind of joke around with life. Ireland, oh yeah, can't go anywhere in Spain without an Irish pub. Yeah, same with America too. I mean, especially the East Coast, you get Irish pubs. But it's true that I didn't notice as much until when I get back from the US. Like that, even in my city here in Granada, in the south of Spain, there's a good amount of Irish pubs that I didn't even know. I didn't notice as much when I was a kid. But yeah, it's true. It's like we have a lot of similarity in that sense. But yeah, welcome here. I don't know if you're Catholic or not, but yeah. Actually, this is a good segue to give a rundown of what the channel does and a little bit of background. But let me address Julius' message here. So I really enjoy Maximus since he from a young age was deeply connected with Christ and even acted some miracles himself. And since he made a couple miracles, he was scared of people idolizing him, so he started living in forests and made small huts and burned them when he left them. And then the day he finally was found, he was on the other side of a cliff and floated over it to meet the monk who was searching for him. Wow. Full book. Yeah, no, it was good. I like that. Again, I feel like if you join the Discord, please share these stories with us in the Discord, because this is great. Oh, I see that you did. Yeah, awesome. Let me know if you want to join the Discord too, by the way, Aiden. I can send you the link. But yeah, no, this is great. I didn't even know about this. Saint Maximus. What age is he from? Yeah, I'm Catholic. I felt I lost my faith for a while, but I'm trying day by day to get back to it. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna leave here the Discord, because it might help you. You know, like there's this little community that we have here of people. What I do here in the channel, as you can see, Cordero Católico. I mean, it's not like I'm doing like a ministry or anything like that. I'm just happen to be Catholic. I myself fell away from the faith, and now have recently kind of come back to it. And I mean, recently, I think like 4 years or something ago. But now I'm like, you know, God just continues to take me around, and now I'm here, you know, doing the stream because I'm developing an app for praying the Rosary and stuff. And so if you want to stick around, you know, you can check out in the Discord too. And we have these evening shows like this one, or from Monday through Friday, and then we have other streams that I do during the day of just developing the app. I watch a guy called Trisagoin Films on YouTube who posts videos deep dive into saints. Oh, nice. Can you share his channel in the Discord so I don't forget, because I do want to check that out, because I want to hear more about that. There's a thing, for example, like one of the reasons I got into making video games and digital experiences, because I want to tell more of the lives of the saints, because I think, even leaving aside whether you believe or not, the lives of the saints are very interesting. But anyway, before I keep going, because this is very interesting and we can keep talking about it live, because I'm not going to end the stream, but I do want to kind of end this video because this is going to be uploaded to YouTube as part of our series on the Bible. So let me just tell everybody here, thank you very much. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for being here. This was a lively session, so hopefully we get more of these as people continue to show up for the live show. So you can join us for the live show every Monday at 11 p.m. Spanish time, GMT +1, and we'll be doing that every week, and as you can see here. And then if you want to join us for any other of our evening shows, we have on Tuesdays Live Words, which is similar to this, but we read through a work of literature. We read in English, but it doesn't have to be an English work of literature. At this moment, we're reading Paradise Lost by John Milton, an epic poem from the 17th century about the fall of man and Satan, and like this struggle between angels and demons, and it's very beautifully written. It's considered a classic of English literature. Then on Wednesday we have a Spanish stream in which we do a similar thing, but with a work of Spanish literature, and we read it in Spanish and we translate it live to kind of learn the language as we also explore classics. Right now we're reading La Vida es Sueño, which means life is a dream, by Calderón de la Barca, who is considered the best, if not among the best, I mean definitely among the best, and if not the best playwright in Spanish literature. And it's from the Baroque times, like the golden age of Spanish culture, and like around the 16th century, 17th century. And then on Thursdays we have Divinely Human, in which we do conversations with interesting people. Like we bring different guests and we just have a deep dive kind of thing, and like we kind of talk about different things, about faith, about like what they do and what they like. And then on Fridays we have Finance Fridays with my brother and friend Evan, very close friend Evan from Redfish Capital. I used to work in finance doing research for investment banking, and even though I don't do that professionally anymore, I still enjoy to analyze companies and public stocks, and my very good friend Dace professionally. So we'll look into them, and then we'll read together and learn how to kind of look at companies and such. And I know the image says 10 p.m., but all these shows are actually at 11 p.m. I'll have to update this graphic. And yeah, please join us. And otherwise, thank you very much for being here. And leave in the comments whatever you think of this show and of these chapters that we explore and whatever we discussed. And I hope to see you again next week. I send the YouTube in the resource. Okay, and and thank you everybody. God bless you.